Now to read a little more from this book. When they shall know the light of me in them, then they shall be me, and I them. When man knows light, then he will know no limitation. But man must know the light for himself, and none there can be who can make words of it. For light knows light, and there need be no words. Wherefore I say to thee, exalt thou thyself beyond thy sensing. Know me as fulcrum of thy thinking. Be me as deep well of thy knowing. Until then he is but moving clay, manifesting not me in him, while sensing naught but moving clay of him, knowing not my light in him. Every man wants to be great and powerful. The most important thing for any man to know who wishes to express power is his own relationship to the universe. Until he does know this relationship, he is like a blind weakling seeking his own way through the dark. His power is measured by the extent to which he knows his relationship to his universe. He is also limited to that measure. Man's supreme error lies in thinking of himself as an individual unit of creation. Practically the whole mass of mankind believes that each man is a power unto himself, independent of anything else in the universe. Each believes himself to be an individual entity whose thinking is his own, confined within his own brain, and who has power of his own within himself to act. Very few think of themselves as utterly helpless in themselves. Very few know that they are as dependent upon their Creator for even the slightest of their actions as an electric light bulb is upon the generator from which it extends. The relationship between the electric light bulb and its generator from which it draws its power is exactly the same as the relationship between man and God, man's only source of power. An electrician is thoroughly aware of the fact that he cannot get any light whatsoever if he disconnects his bulb from his generator. To give light, it must be connected. To get more powerful lights from his generator, he must know how to make each individual bulb stronger and more powerful. It is only through such knowledge that the electrical engineer can multiply the power of a small candle power light to the candle power of a searchlight. Likewise, the only way a man can multiply his own power from mediocrity to genius is to become thoroughly aware of the one supreme universal fact that God alone is, and that nothing is existent but God. He who knows this knows that he of himself is nothing, but is all-powerful because of the Father abiding in him. Any man who knows the source of his existence without reservation as to his own independent existence is already omnipotent, omnificent, and omnipresent. The illumined ones alone have this knowledge in its fullness. Only such men can say with full cognizance of its meaning, I can of my own self do nothing. The Father within me doeth the work. Jesus alone of all men ever born on earth could say this with as full a certainty of its meaning as the electrical engineer could say, these bulbs have no light in them. They can do nothing of themselves. Whatever light comes from them is extended to them from their source. It is not their own light. It is that which is in their generator. Jesus knew God as the one fulcrum of the entire wave universe. He knew the nothingness, the unreality of this mind-imagined thought universe, which only seems to be. Jesus knew the orderliness of law and the processes of creation. In fact, he was the world's only consummate scientist. Because of his scientific knowledge, he was fully aware of all creating things as being extensions of each other, all being one, all being the imagining of mind under control of mind. It was this knowledge which gave him the power to heal and to perform the so-called miracles attributed to him. Jesus was, therefore, the greatest man who ever lived, because he had greater knowledge than any man who ever lived. Knowledge is the key that unlocks man's door to cosmic power. The more any knows, the more powerful he is or can become. Many of us try to emulate the example of Jesus with the ideal of goodness in mind. Goodness, or virtue alone, will not make any man great, godlike, or powerful. Goodness in any individual is the result of action according to God's law. Man must know God's law of love within his heart and soul before he can live love. Emulation or imitation alone cannot make a man great. A man must know within himself the nature of God and God's processes of creation. When we speak of brotherly love, we must know its scientific meaning in respect to the unity of the entire physical body of creation, as well as the unity of the spiritual universe of God. Jesus lived the principle of brotherly love with scientific knowledge of the unity of man. He knew the oneness of the omnipotent light from which all things are extended to manifest the love principle of unity. He knew also the unity of the electric wave universe of seeming many parts, and the balanced interchange of giving and re-giving, which manifests the love principle in matter. To him there were no other men on earth than himself, that all seemingly separate other men were his own self, his own body, all being extensions of himself, as his arms were extensions of his body. He had not even the concept of separateness, for he knew the wholeness of God and his one ideal. And now I want to stop right here and say that there's another book I have. Well, it's a series of 5 books. 3 of them I have typed up and I have in my Google files. But in them, in the 4th book that isn't typed up, but I can read this part, and I will maybe in my next talk, it talks about when we recognize everyone around us as the Christ. And I don't care if they're a murderer or as someone who abuses little children, no matter how horrible his crime, they're still Christ. And we have to see the Christ in them, because it's our seeing that will make them into what we can believe they can be. But mostly we just call it like we see it. We just see something bad, and maybe some of the same kind of bad in who we're looking at is also in ourselves. And so we don't bless that person. We just curse him and wish him to go to hell. And we send him to the pits of hell, or the demons that make him do this. You know, we have all kinds of little theories from our scriptures that make us think, well, it's not us that's bad. It's something that gets in us. But that's just a boogeyman theory, because there is only God. There is nothing but God. And we have to see that. And what this, I will read it to you next, but what it says is that when you can see everyone as the Christ, then you will be given the ability to see into the subatomic, microscopic zone of life. And it says that you will see a little amoeba. Well, it's not little, it's big. It's colorless and is jelly-like. And I will read it to you, but that's what I was seeing. I think I'm seeing this first cell that is the divine blueprint. But now that I'm seeing color in what I see, I think that we have our co-creative part of thinking what it is we want into this light. And then when we do, we color that light and it creates our world. But what we have to do is be able to look at that man that is the murderer and not send him hate or think that that's the way he'll always be, but to have much compassion and know that he is truly the Christ just as we are. And when we can do that, we can lift him up out of being that way, because then we're not cursing him, we're blessing him. And when we bless that person, we are doubly blessed ourselves. But when we curse that person, Like if there's another writer that he put it this way: if you thrust out at the darkness without compassion, you too will be drawn into the darkness. So it's not that you love evil or what is called evil, but it's that you look at it with compassion and you don't judge. Judging is not a kind thing to do, but you bless instead. You call what is not as though it were, because that's what God does. He calls what is not as though it were, and it became. It became what he called it. And we're co-creators with him. And we got to quit calling it like our eyes see it. We have to call it like we know that it is the body of Christ and that we're all one. It really shakes up people's beliefs in heaven and hell. And people that worship scriptures, they think it's very blasphemous to talk like this. But when you think about it, when you really get down to the core of thinking, God is all that is. And I love every part of God, even the darkened parts that don't know him so well. And I will send them blessing instead of cursing. And everybody can decide to do that. And maybe then we'll all start seeing this light the way I'm seeing it. I don't know where this is going from here, this being able to see the light. Sometimes I feel like I just step over into it. It just so surrounds me sometimes. It's so beautiful. It's like it communicates. And I'm going to be talking more about it. I've kind of kept quiet about it for the last couple of years. You know, even when I talk to family members, they're not too interested. And nobody really is who doesn't believe it's possible, or who thinks that if they think that way, they're going to be some kind of kook. And they look at me like I was some kind of kook. But I know I'm a person who doesn't lie. I see what I see, and what I see this light. I see it like a machine that's inside of us, that's doing all kinds of stuff with light. And it fits in with some of these books I've been reading. And I don't know how I was given this ability, because sometimes I look at people and I judge them and I get mad and I think bad thoughts. But for the most part, when I can recall that I thought that way, I'll take it back and I'll say, oh, cancel that out, because I don't want to be thinking like that. So I mess up now and then. I get mad. I'm certainly getting mad at some Republicans right now, the kind of things they're trying to do. But I don't hate them, and I'm not going to demonize them. I see our government demonizing different groups within it, and we're never going to get anywhere doing that. You have to talk about what you believe is the way to fix something, but not do it by demonizing the other group. You can expose their thinking, but in the doing of it, don't call them names. Don't be like little naughty kids that don't know how to be kind to one another with their words. And I have to watch myself all the time, because sometimes I spout off things that aren't kind. But the thing is to catch yourself, because you can cancel that out. One good thought cancels out 1,000 bad ones. Okay, this is all I have to say. Over and out. And I'll be coming back with you with that part from that book that talks about that amoeba, that cell, that first cell, because it is amazing. Okay, over and out.